here's the little corridor of the lab at the Turkana Basin Institute. And I'm going to walk you into sort of like a holding room where when we collect a fossil, we actually coat it. If it's a big fossil, we coat it in a plaster jacket. So you'll see many of the things in here are covered in a white jacket. These are big animals. Here we've actually got, believe it or not, a kudu, which is an antelope, and it has its horns are going up that way. And then this is a very impressive fossil here. You can all see what that is. That is a very large crocodile. That's called a broad-nosed crocodile. It's probably about 1.8 million years old. And you can see at the back here, all of its scutes. It's all the crocodile scutes. These are these bony plates on the back of the crocodile. Very large animal indeed. Other kinds of crocodiles as well. And then down this little row, from all the way up there down here, you've got lots and lots of hippo skulls. Often, this was obviously because of the rivers and lakes in this region in the past, there was an abundance of hippos, and they're quite well preserved, and often they have their upper or lower jaws, or sometimes their tusks preserved. See another hippo. You can see its teeth here. This one's actually got its backbone intact with its skull there. And then we have a most impressive set of elephant long bones. So this is actually a femur. You can see it looks like a big elephant. I want to show you a big elephant skull too. These are all elephant lower jaws that you have here. So there's so many fossils. And I'm going to end in the room that actually has some of the skulls of our human ancestors. So I'll just race around here first. See those elephants? So that's actually the skull of an ancestral Asian elephant. And they were more abundant in this part of the world than the ancestral African elephants, like you see here. This is a huge skull where you can see where its tusks would have come out the front. It's upside down, so it's the top of its head is underneath it. And then they've got these very massive tooth rows here. An elephant has 6 sets of teeth in its lifetime. And so you can see this here is one tooth, it's one big molar, and they come forward in the mouth and they chip away at the front. And when an elephant gets to its 6th tooth and it runs out of that, then it doesn't have anything else to chew with. So it that becomes the end of its life. So yeah, this room is full of all sorts of fossils that are either being worked on or were taken into the lab, and where they've cleaned away the plaster and they've used air scribes to get all the sediment. This is another lab here that is full of trays and trays of fossils of smaller animals, but there's some fun things to show you here. There's a box which has a whole collection of monkey skulls. So you've got skulls of a very large monkey here, Rhinocolobus. This is actually a giant baboon, Therapithecus. And here's looks like a female as well, female monkey. So that's quite neat, those monkeys. And then here we have a rhino skull. We had both black and white rhinos in the fossil record here. This is a fun thing. You can see what this is. This is actually a tortoise. Obviously a lot of tortoises. And in fact, when I was a 12-year-old, we dug up the carapace of a giant tortoise, and it was the size of a bath. You could have had a bath in it. It was so big. So a lot of giant tortoises as well in this region. These are a whole array of different antelopes with their horns. Here we have a pig skull, another pig skull, and then some slender snouted crocodiles. Look at this thing. It's a long-nosed crocodile, very skinny nose. A crocodile's body is 7 times the length of its head, and this skull is over a meter long. Here's another one, similarly sized. So there were some very big crocodiles in this part of the world. So many different species of crocodiles, many different species of elephants. We have birds. We even have snakes. I'll show you. Actually, we have a beautiful snake here. I'll quickly show you that before we go back to the hominid room. And under here, we have the bones. I don't know how clear it is to see, but coiled up in here, you've actually got lots of vertebrae of a very large snake. It's quite hard to know how we're going to actually get that out of the ground. I think what we're going to do with this one is put it into a camera, sort of a CT scanner, and image it and try to then work out what we got before we try and dig it out with microscopes. So yeah, a lot of fossils in the collections here, and there's even more in the collections in Nairobi. So it's a sort of area where we hold the fossils, but these fossils belong to Kenya. They don't belong to us as individuals. We have the luxury of working on them for a certain amount of time before we publish them. But other than that, we hold them here while they're studied. In this cupboard, you've actually got some casts. These are actually replicas of different skulls of human ancestors. Okay, so there's different ones here. But I would like to just share a couple with you. Here on the table, we spoke about Zinjanthropus. This is the skull that was found by my grandparents. This is actually a copy, it's a replica, because the original is actually in Tanzania, in the museum there. But this was the thing that they called the Nutcracker Man, because it had these very, very large teeth, and it would have had a very large lower jaw, and that lower jaw needed a big muscle to power it, and the muscle attached to this ridge along the top of the skull here. So it's a sagittal crest. So that's the skull of Zinjanthropus. And the very first skull that they found at Lake Turkana was this one here. And this was what they called 406, but you can see it's the same species. It has the sagittal crest running along the top of the skull, although this one didn't have any teeth. At 1.8 million years or thereabouts. And then the very famous skull that was found the year I was born in 1972 was this thing. You can see it belongs to a different species. It has no sagittal crest, and it has a much bigger brain. So it lies on our own genus, the genus Homo. And this is known as Homo rudolfensis, that skull. And there are many other things in here, and we're still working to find more bones and long bones as well of all these different animals, these human ancestors. And there's still many mysteries that need to be resolved as to where these things came from if you go back in the fossil record. So yeah, that's fun. These are some of the trays that we brought in from and fossils that we brought in from the field today. Actually, we've been working a big excavation of a fossil a skeleton that we found, which is quite unusual to find skeletons. In fact, some of these belong to monkeys. So yeah, it's been an exciting 6 weeks